Yeah, hello, welcome to a new video. Yeah, will be somewhat different video, as I won't do a blitz game or rapid game with live commentary, but instead I'll briefly show a game that I played yesterday, and it's a tournament game with the classical time control. Well, classical, yeah, it was a Fisher time control, 90 minutes for 40 moves and additional 30 minutes on move 40 plus 30 seconds increment per move from move 1. So it's somewhat sometimes called the quick Fisher time control with increment. Yeah, this game was played in the German Club Cup event. So it's a cup tournament with the teams on 4 boards. So we've got 4 games going simultaneously, and yeah, I'm one of the 4 boards. Actually, I'm board 1 for my club, so I always get them. Yeah, well, almost always get the best players of the opposing teams, and this time we played the German Bundesliga First League team of Solingen, and they always put up a pretty strong team in the club events, in the cup events. So I got to play a grandmaster, a German grandmaster. They don't use their Dutch top players that they have in the team. They have well, close to, I think, the half of the Dutch national team in the club, but usually they only play with German players in the cup. So, well, I get to play Michael Hoffmann. He's a pretty good grandmaster, rated about 2,500, and I also got the black pieces. So, not the easiest task around, but well, I know him pretty good. I played a while together with him and for another team, so. Yeah, so I pretty much knew what to expect, and well, when you play black against him, yeah, you don't know what to expect actually, because he plays all moves, all possible mainstream moves, so to say: e4, d4, c4, knight f3, basically everything that there is, and he also plays the main lines, and also, in addition, he also knows them well, so he's a pretty good theoretical player. Okay, so I didn't do any specific preparation, and yeah, let's have a look at the game. He played c4, um, and I took a 5 minute think here after c4, because, well, I didn't prepare anything specific, and I was trying to think of something that he probably doesn't know too well, and also couldn't expect from me. So at the end, I chose maybe somewhat questionable line. We'll see what's coming up, but it's a bit mysterious in a way. Okay, I played c5. He went knight f3, which is the most aggressive move here. Knight c6, knight c3. Yeah, now that's an interesting point here from black's point of view. I played here the move g6, which sometimes is considered somewhat dubious, but yeah, there have been a couple of games recently by strong players, and they played g6 nevertheless, and they played a somewhat rare idea, which I also used in the game, which well, somehow should be playable for black, but yeah, we'll see in the game. Of course, white here has different options. g6 in a way prevents d4 now. Let's have a quick look if white plays d4, which is often played, of course, from structure point of view here. cd4, knight d4, bishop g7, and now the problem is that the knight on d4 is simply attacked and needs to move again. white simply lacks the time to conveniently cover this knight with bishop e3. For instance, if the moves e4 and d6 would have been inserted, let's say black would play d6, which would be of course inferior, but just to show, e4, bishop g7, then white could easily protect the knight with bishop e3, and we would get a standard position here. In this particular instance, though, after bishop g7, the knight has to move again, and well, the best square, relatively speaking, is c2, and now black actually has a very good option in capturing on c3, b takes c3, and queen a5, which is considered yeah, it's not a really clear verdict by analysts here if black is already somewhat better or just equal, or but well, it's nothing that white should really go for. So d4 is not really good here, and the other main alternative here, of course, is for white to just play g3 and go for a somewhat standard position here in the symmetrical English. In this position, black has a huge choice. He could go for, well, say e6, which was Fischer's favorite move, or e5, which is possible, also d6, or knight f6, of course, complete symmetry also possible. Yeah, this is possible, but well, in general, this whole way of playing is considered, from white's point of view, somewhat yeah, it's not very aggressive. White needs to well, play somewhat more directly here to get something. He can play this, of course, but it's not really aiming for a huge opening advantage. Okay, but the main objection to the move g6, otherwise it would be a great move, is the move e3 here, and he also played this, so he as I said, he knows his he knows his openings. The idea here is of e3 to play a quick d4 and even d4, d5 possibly, to attack this knight on c6, which has been developed there somewhat, yeah, prematurely. That's at least what white is trying to prove. For instance, if black plays bishop g7, d4, then on the next move, this knight will get kicked with d5, and it well, it needs to retreat back to b8, go to a5, which is not a great square, or maybe go to e5, which is also not too great. So this is most likely just better for white. So black plays knight f6. I also played this, d4, and now black is ready after cd, ed, d5 to transpose into, yeah, somewhat surprisingly, into a position that could also have been reached from an e4 opening, the Caro-Kann. This is just a position from the Panov variation of the Caro-Kann. I can quickly show how it is reached after e4. It's always funny what kind of transpositions are possible. This is the e4 way to reach this. Now g6 is exactly the same position. And in the game we had exactly the same. Yeah, okay, now white played c takes d5, knight takes d5, this is yeah, it's very much agreed that this is the best way to play for white, and queen b3. Yeah, and now is the first yeah, interesting point here. Now the main move here for black, or at least the move that is has been played most often, is to capture on c3. d5 is of course just hanging, so black needs to move this knight, or at least do something about this. And knight takes c3 actually is answered not with the recapture, but with the strong move bishop c4. It's a funny idea. It just attacks f7, and black simply has no decent square for this knight. Let's say we try to save the knight, then white could simply capture here and get back the piece. So I cannot really here secure this piece somehow. The only decent options here are e6 or knight d5 back. So let's check this quickly. After e6, b takes c3, bishop g7, bishop a3. This is one problem here, which is really caused by this move bishop c4, which provoked black to play e6. So now he cannot castle. And let's say bishop f8, exchange and castles, and white is just somewhat better here. It's a slight advantage and very comfortable position, as the bishop on c8 is not easily developed here, and black also needs some time to organize his pieces here. King to g7, and yeah, white is of course somewhat better. The alternative here, which is played most often, is knight d5, white captures, and then e6. Somewhat funny funny move sequence. So white now needs to take on c6, otherwise d4 would just be lost. And we get a position of this kind of position where black has got the bishop pair, but the bishop c8 is not really great here. Black's dream is to transfer this bishop to d5. If he would manage this, he would have a really nice position, but it's not easy to do. This is also considered somewhat better for white. And these kind of variations are the reason for the move 3 g6 having a bad reputation. It's this exactly this move sequence here. Yeah, but now we get to the point what I actually played. I played e6 here, which is not a new move, but it has been tried recently by 3 good players. So somehow this move came to my attention, and I decided to give this a go here. Actually, I decided on move 1 to go for this position, because it was very likely that we reach this after c4, c5. Yeah, now that I have looked, checked this a little bit deeper after the game, I don't think I would actually repeat this. But well, it was I thought of playing this line only at the board. So okay, played bishop to b5 here. And there have been, as I mentioned, a couple of games in this line, and it's sometimes the little details are interesting. The first game that was played on a high level was between Gashimov, the Azerbaijan Azeri grandmaster, and Topalov. So Topalov went for this position as black, and Gashimov played bishop g5 here, which also looks critical to me, to be honest. Topalov now answered with f6. Maybe black has something else here. I'm not sure. During the game, when we actually had this position and he thought for, I don't know, 5 minutes or something, I was briefly thinking after bishop g5 maybe black can also play other moves, to queen a5 or queen b6 or something. f6 is really an ugly move. Well, let's check quickly the game. Bishop d2, bishop g7, bishop d3, castles, knight c7, rook fe1. This was Gashimov Topalov, and yeah, it's pretty obvious that white has an advantage here, because it's just an ugly setup with f6 and e6. e6 pawn is weak, and white has a very nice active development, and he also got an attack going with h4 later, which is also inviting idea. So Gashimov got a pretty good position here against Topalov, but The funny thing is, a couple of months later, this game was played in 2010, Gashimov got the black pieces against Kramnik in a, I think it was a rapid event, so not too much, not a very important game, but Gashimov then played exactly this line as black. So despite the earlier experience against Topalov, where he got a nice position, he decided to play this as black. So maybe he looked at this line and considered it at least worth a try. So it shouldn't be too awful. Also, and this was actually the game which brought this whole line to my attention. The e6 line here was also played by the world champion, by Anand, in his game against Vallejo, the Spanish Grandmaster. But Vallejo didn't really play anything critical. He, I think, just tried to play the simplest possible. He took on d5, bishop b5, bishop g7, queen a3, and this pretty much invites the queen trade here. And they played this kind of position, which at the end Anand actually won with black. It should be it should be a draw. It's an equal position, but at the end Anand even managed to squeeze out a win here. So this was not really a try at a refutation. Well, if you ask me, bishop g5 looks like the critical move to me. Okay, but here my opponent played bishop b5. The idea here of bishop b5 is sometimes just to capture on c6 and then try to play against the somewhat weak pawn. Bishop g7, which is very logical, both side castles. And this is actually following the game Kramnik against Gashimov. Of course, we were not aware of this. I only knew this Anand game, I just thought, if Anand can play this line and be okay, then okay, it shouldn't be completely terrible for black. So, which is actually a very, a very good fallback option sometimes. If you don't know exactly what is played in a certain position or unsure, but you have some recollection that it was played by a really strong player, like a world champion or a challenger for the title or something, then you can be pretty sure that it's at least it is at least a decent move. Yeah, Kramnik here in this position. Here's white to move after black castles. Kramnik played rook d1. Looks very very sensible to me. Just cover d4. Not quite sure what I would answer there. I also didn't look the game up. I'm not sure what Gashimov played actually. But okay, let's get back to my game. He took on c6 here, which is not unusual in this kind of structure to weaken here the pawn position and maybe try to play against the pawn on c6 or get a knight to c5. This would be typical kinds of maneuvers. But I think this is actually somewhat premature here. We will see in the game. I think it's still equal position, but it considerably helps me, I think. He played rook e1, which also could be questioned if you look at the game continuation. Okay, rook e1. I played queen to b6. This seemed very logical to me, as I think I may be just threatening to exchange on b3, and this damaged pawn structure should be a problem for white. So I thought he needs to react somehow, and he played queen c2, which I expected. It's a relatively speaking most active move, and I also expected the next couple of moves, but it gets really crazy in a very short amount of time here. I played knight b4 and he played queen e4. Yeah, this is the sharpest move, and I absolutely expected it, because everything else is just too passive. White could play queen d1, but well, this whole queen b3 to c2 to d1 doesn't make a very active impression. I can just play a normal strengthening move here. Let's say bishop a6 or rook d8 or something, and I think it should be about equal. Okay, he went to e4, and of course this has the simple idea to switch the queen over to h4, bishop h6, knight g5, and mate on h7. In a in an ideal world, from white point of view, this would happen, but I have a pretty strong move here, and I think he didn't really take this into account. I can play e5 now, and it's an easy to miss move in a way, because white is has a rook on e1, knight on f3, queen, everything on e5, and you always try to make the bishop on c8 the bad piece, so you don't really expect the e-pawn to move. But of course, black can play this because bishop f5 is the idea here with the tempo, and then knight c2, and well, I'm just forking the rooks on e1 and a1. So purely tactical justification for this move. Actually, the next move he played this relatively quickly, and I also thought it would be basically the only move, and this shows that we both didn't calculate too well. Okay, he took on e5. He's got a very decent alternative here, and maybe the one he should play. Knight a4. The reason for this becomes obvious in the game. If you look at the game, in this position I need to play queen b5. If I would go back to c7, for instance, he could take on e5, and b4 is just hanging. So I need to go to a square where I actually attack this knight, and now white can take on e5, which is somewhat similar to the game. The point is, after bishop f5, queen h4, we get to the game position, and I cannot really take on a4. Well, I can, but it's not good. Plays bishop d2, a5, a3, and he will get this piece back with an advantage. White has got an extra pawn. It's still playable for black. It's not completely terrible. I've got two bishops and maybe some counterplay against e5. Possibly this bishop can go to d5. It's playable, but not something I would have gone for. Most likely we would have got the game position, but he would avoid something. Let's look at the game first. d5, bishop f5, of course, logical. What else? Queen h4, knight c2, very logical. And now we played knight to a4. And now if I play queen b5 now, which I did, we would have gotten the same position in the line before, just with a different move order. The important point is here, I played queen b5, but I should have played queen c7 here, and this would have been much better. What happens now? Bishop h6, and then, for instance, I can take on h6, queen takes, I take the rook in the corner, he recaptures, c6, f6, sorry, f6, and then, for instance, rook e1. It's just a sample line. There are some alternatives, of course. Queen e3, and this position is slightly better. Better for black, I think. I've got an extra exchange, but white has got a pawn, and he's got nice positions for his knights. The e5 knight has got a nice position, and the other one might hop to c5. And I'm not sure. I checked this also briefly with the computer, and he gives this as, I don't know, 0.2 or something for black. So it's not serious. Maybe it's just equal. I wouldn't be terribly afraid to have this position as white as well, but I should have gone for this. I can try to play for a win here. Okay, so on knight a4 I played queen b5. I should have gone queen c7. But just some lines that are possible here. It's a terribly complicated position. We both actually assumed in the game that knight a4 needs to be played in order to protect b2. The computer actually showed that he could also play bishop h6, amazingly. And it leads to a couple of really exciting lines. Maybe this is I think worse than knight a4, but it's impossible almost to calculate in the game. The main line here would be to take on a1, takes on g7, king takes. I need to recapture here, otherwise he would play bishop f6 and queen h6, and I'm just gone. And now the key move knight d4. This is very important because white now threatens bishop takes f5, check, g takes f5, queen g5 with perpetual check, and might continue bishop e6, rook takes a1, rook a8, d4 is hanging now, so he covers this, c5, takes, queen e7 check, takes, queen e6, king g7, and this is maybe slightly better for black. But now we are on move 25, and well, this is an alternative that starts with bishop h6 here for white, and black also can play takes on b2, queen takes b2. I could also capture on e1, so this is completely impractical to calculate this. For instance, one line, if I take on e1, on e1, this is really crazy. Rook e1, queen b2, bishop g7, king b7, g7, knight d4. Still playing with this trick to take on f5 and give the perpetual. Of course, black can always, for instance, in this position, I can just capture c3 and it's a draw. Yeah, it's just a question if black can try to play for a win here. Bishop b3, for instance, is a funny line. Queen f6 check, king g8, knight c6, threatening knight e7 checkmate. So I need to make some square here for the king. e7, king h7, and knight retreats. And now white is somehow covering all the important things here. The knights cover each other. Rook ac8, and now really an amazing line. Of course, found by the computer. We didn't see even the first two moves or so of this. Let's say h4, rook c3, and now unbelievable e6, which threatens e7, pawn to e7, and also threatens c3. The queen and knight just attack the rook on c3. So, for instance, rook c2. And now e7. Queen takes f6, all only moves. Check, king g7. And now, for instance, rook e3. White can even wait a move here. Bishop f5 takes, rook a3, and yeah, this might be a shade better for black, but well, it's maybe just a draw. But of course, this is a 15 move deep line here, so it's completely unrealistic to calculate this. I'm not quite sure what I actually saw in the game here, but I was pretty sure that that he needed to play knight a4, and he did. So okay, but well, I played queen to b5. I should have gone to c7 as mentioned before. Queen b5, bishop h6. Yeah, now I took on an a1. I also could have taken on e1 actually. And then he recaptures, rook a8, takes, something like this. This was also possible, and I don't know how to evaluate this position. It's I think white has pretty decent compensation here. He can just play sorry, he can just play some normal moves here. He doesn't need to yeah, to play something spectacular. He can play for long-term compensation also with the squares on c5 for the knight. Yeah, it would have been possible, but I found it much more logical to capture on a1 to get the rook back in the corner, as he needs to recapture in a couple of moves. What I didn't really evaluate correctly is the position that is reached a couple of moves later. He captured on g7 first here. King takes, knight d4. And now we also see the idea here of the perpetual check coming up. For instance, if I go to d5 here, then he could just go for this perpetual, and it's just a draw. But okay, I went to d3 to avoid the immediate draw. I considered my position to be very good here, but I didn't evaluate this correctly. He played knight to c5 now, and in order to avoid the draw, I need to play queen d2. This covers the g5 square, where the queen would need to give a check, white's queen, to give the perpetual after knight takes f5. So he took on a1, rook a8, and I calculated this position before, and I thought I would be much better here, as I avoid the immediate perpetual check. And I thought I should be better because, well, I got the rook on d8 in play, and also we'll see now he takes on f5. He needs to, gives the check here, king g8, and I thought, well, I thought about this position, and I didn't see really how he should strengthen the position here, because I'm threatening a mate here on d1, queen d1, rook d1, and just checkmate. So for instance, he played h4. He cannot capture here because of the mate here on d1. So after h4, rook d5, I was thinking, well, this should be really better for me, but when we actually reached the position and I was looking a little bit deeper, I got more and more pessimistic about the position. And we can look at this. He played b4 now, which I didn't really take into account, to be honest. Well, a couple of moves before, of course, when we reached it, it was obvious that he should play this. Okay, and now it's not so easy for black to really make progress here. I always need to attend to this queen g5 perpetual idea, so I cannot move the queen without allowing the perpetual. And well, the only move that I seriously considered, besides the one that I captured on before, is rook e8. This is also fairly logical to attack e5. And then I calculated e6 takes, rook d7. I need to, because on g7 it's just a mate threat and I have no other way to cover it. And queen f5, and well, I really disliked this position, because My king is wide open here, and he's already got 2 pawns. Well, I was a bit skeptical about my chances here. I should have, I think, calculated a bit further. I didn't have so much time, but I think maybe I should have looked somewhat further. I didn't really appreciate the move Queen d5. I was just thinking, okay, I can always give a check. Oops, give a check here, and maybe retreat the knight to g5, for instance, or f4 or something. But in fact, after this here, h6, black is just better. Rook f8, and in this position I'm threatening rook g7, just winning, because f3 is then hanging. Black is better here. Maybe I should have gone for this, but I didn't really take this move, queen d5, into account properly. For instance, if I play this here, which I looked at briefly, then just knight g5, and it's very unclear. For instance, if I give this check here, he can even play king h2, because on f7 h7 there's a mate threat. And well, this the combination of knight and queen is notoriously dangerous. So yeah, I wasn't completely sure. But at the end, with the clock ticking down after b4, I just decided that the draw is not too bad in this game. So I captured just on b4, and now white needs to give the perpetual, of course. So we repeated 2 times, and then decided to agree to a draw. Yeah, it was really complicated game, and it also shows that if you need to calculate lots of complicated variation, that the computer afterwards will show that you only saw only saw a really small percentage of the lines. Interesting. One interesting point really was here on move 15, where knight a4 actually would have forced the game continuation, which was quite okay for white. It wasn't intended, of course, but it was maybe compensation for the exchange. Very complicated, of course, and but he should do that. I think after queen c7, which was really the main I think chance that I missed here in this game. This kind of position, I think I can play on a bit and try to win it. One key difference to the game is that I still have 2 pawns at least as the cover for my king, and the line that I showed, this kind of line, white has 2 pawns, and I just got h7 left. Also, in addition, before I forget this, I just showed queen g4, but actually white could exchange here. Just to show this quickly, I need to take with the pawn, of course, otherwise knight c7, knight d4, rook e4, rook d1 takes. This kind of position, white has got a pawn for the exchange, and this is maybe just very slightly better for black. Actually, I checked this quickly with the computer, and he actually gives this as equal, which I find somewhat surprising. I think black should still be better, because if someone is doing something here, then it's black with the rooks trying to win another pawn, or maybe somehow get this knight away from d4 and try to invade on the second rank. So black should be somewhat better. White has decent drawing chances, of course, but just equal. I don't buy it. But this is maybe the objectively best way to play for white. If I would have gone rook e8, which of course I should have done, but I maybe I got yeah, I was somewhat maybe somewhat afraid about this position, because I really hated to have somewhat open king here. But I really underestimated this here. I thought, okay, white would just give a check and play on here, but it's not that easy actually. Yeah, okay. I think we're through here, and this video has gotten much longer than I expected. Yeah, I hope you liked the game, and I will also in the description add a quick PGN yeah, notation here that you can look up the game, or maybe replay it on a board. Yeah, thanks for watching, and see you soon with a couple of more blitz or rapid videos. This was somewhat of a special video. Yeah, thanks and bye.